Hey, what's up guys? Mike Patrick. In this video, I want to talk about why socialism is the future, okay? Why socialism, specifically in America, is the future. Now, we have to think about, okay, the fact that the premier generation that's coming up into leadership are the millennials, okay? So these are people that's anywhere from their mid-20s to their early 40s, or maybe a little less than early 40s, but you know, around that age bracket, okay? Now, millennials have been bred for socialism, okay? The way that most millennials was raised in America, okay? We were bred for socialism. Now, that's why, like I always say, on a large scale, for the majority, that's why millennials have a hard time adapting to the way of life of previous generations, okay? Now, we know we have some millennials that, you know, that fit right in to the traditional model, okay? So the thing is, though, most millennials was bred in a way, you know, we are somewhat, in comparison to other generations, they would call us a spoiled generation, okay? Put it that way, all right? Based off of their ideals, their way of doing things, their way of looking at things, and that whole outlook, we would be considered a spoiled generation, okay? Now, from a millennial standpoint, if you're in your mid-20s, if you're in your early to mid-30s, even as young as 40, because 40 is still young, that's still young, as you know, even by most standards, I mean by today's standards, you still got another 40 years on average before you even start thinking about kicking the bucket. So the thing about it is, most people can't see themselves. Not only can't they not see themselves, but they don't know how in the world they would actually be able to just go to a job, a regular job, for the next 30, 40 years and then retire, and then, I guess sit in the house, get old, and supposedly enjoy your retirement, right? Most people in their mid-20s are not trying to entertain that prospect, okay? And even if they entertain it, they can't see themselves actually going through with it. All right, same thing with somebody that's early 30s, same thing with somebody that's mid 30s and even 40, okay? Now, the way that society has switched up, the way that the climate has switched up anyway, that's not even realistic anyway, because most people, their full-time jobs are gone for the most part. So it's not really, we don't really have jobs out here that you can consider long career jobs. Most people have part-time jobs, two or three part-time jobs, 1 or 2 part-time jobs. You know what I mean? And they're getting worked the hell out of for basically crumbs. And then you got somebody, they 25 doing this, 30 doing this, 35 doing this. How long you think that's gonna hold up when that person is miserable living like that? Okay? So, not to mention, everything is going to automation. So even if that wasn't the case, everything is going to automation, okay? Companies can save money by automating everything. They don't have to deal with personalities. They don't have to deal with things that they have to deal with people getting sick, calling out. You got all different types of, like I said, personalities, work ethics, all these different things, okay? Computers don't really make mistakes and things of that nature, so you can be more efficient, more proficient, okay, if you automate tasks, all right? Not to mention, you don't have to give a robot health care, you don't have to give artificial intelligence a retirement plan, a pension, right? And you don't have to hear the robot's mouth, So therefore it just makes more sense, you know what I mean, to somebody that's a business owner, okay, or a corporation, to just automate as much as you can, you know. Excuse me, guys. All right, so with that said, there won't be any jobs anyway, you know what I mean. As things go more and more to automation, you can see it already, how most things are becoming automated, right? 10, 15 years ago, could you walk into Food Line, Kroger, anywhere and just go through self-checkout, okay? And so on, and it's other form, and it's other things that, you know, that's becoming more automated, okay? And people who are owners of corporations and things like that, they're not looking at it like, oh, we have to provide a job. See, that's why I said that in an earlier video. I said, you know, really you are on welfare if you are relying on somebody to provide you a job. Like, you think about the shutdown, people were begging to go back to work. They were begging to go back to work. So, you know what I mean? So you mean to tell me if they don't provide this job, you don't let you go back to work, you finish like that, right? So that was just my point exactly. So if things, like I said, if things are becoming more automated, then, you know, then that's going to take away the jobs anyway. And then let's face it, millennials aren't crazy about having to work a job, okay, for a little bit of money, okay, and they're required to do a whole lot of tasks, you know, and they're not crazy about having to do that for the next 30, 40 years of their life, okay? When you go to different jobs, right, they require more of you now, right? You have to cross-train, okay? You have to do all these different things. You have to take on more than one job, and so therefore you're bouncing around. All these things take a toll. You know what I mean? You're bouncing around different jobs. You got to be at this job at 2 o'clock, and you got to be at the next one at 8 o'clock later on. You got to be doing all this traveling. You got to consume your mind with doing different tasks, because at both jobs you're doing all the different jobs that's required within the job, and then yet you're still not getting paid that much money. You know what I mean? And then, not to mention, from another standpoint, credit, right? Most millennials have jacked up credit, okay? So you put all this stuff in the pot, okay? Then most millennials have jacked up credit because most millennials, you know what I mean, it's the prime generation that really sold into the college dream, right? Like I said, I'm not right or wrong in college. I think it, you know, it's for some people, and for some people it's not. It all depends on what your goals are and what you're trying to do. All right. And the thing is, most millennials got a whole lot of debt from student loans and things like that, and then other debt. You know what I mean? Just other acquired debt. So they're not in a position, even if they made halfway decent money, it's just going, you know, most of it is going back to paying loans and things like that. So you got people with jacked up credit, okay? They're young, so and the climate of the job market and what's required, they're not crazy about doing these things for the next 30, 40 years of their life, right? And then they just been bred anyway, socially, for something like socialism, to fall right into something like socialism, okay? So I think I hit on all the points, and if I didn't, if it is anything else, I think the points that I just made was pretty much good enough. So that's why I say, guys, socialism is probably inevitable. Oh, another thing is, not to mention, there's always enough anyway, man. In a capitalist society, right? And I'm not trying to go like I'm just stating this fact or this way of looking at things. In a capitalist society, you got a certain amount of people who want to acquire as much as they can, while the trickle down is for everybody else. And then they want to sell the illusion that it's not enough out here. Everybody got to do this and everybody got to do that in order to have this and have that. The way I look at it, the Most High Father don't do anything wrong. And if he created you, he put you here. He put you here with everything that you need, okay? Now, yeah, if you want to have certain luxuries and stuff like that, so be it. But I'm talking about as far as what you need. So there's not a shortage of food. There's not a shortage of anything. What the problem is there are people who are greedy, who want to try to capitalize as much as they can, you know, and then so therefore it leaves a lot of other people with you know, in lack. Okay, and then certain people that benefit from capitalism would like to use the excuse that everybody can pull themselves up by their bootstraps and do this and do that. If it was a completely even playing field, that would be true. But you can't try to sell that to people, because we know that's not true. We know at this particular point in time, it's 2019. It is certain people that for generations have been set up for success, okay? And opposed to other people. And so it's not realistic. It's not the truth that you can just, depending on what your situation is, you know, or regardless of what your situation is, you can do this and do that. So they give you one or two examples of success like that, and you don't really know the ins and outs of that success. You don't know the degree of that success. You don't know what's being fabricated or exaggerated or anything like that. And then they want to put that as the poster child for what everybody can do, when that's just not realistic. All right, so hopefully this was a helpful video, guys, something to think about. All right, peace, have a good one.